Right, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me loud and clear, and welcome to the first supporters evening of 2021. Obviously, there's a number of pros and cons to the current situation. The big con is we can't all be sat in the sports bar at the WAM Stadium doing this event. But I suppose one of the cons is that we can at least involve supporters from much further afield. I'm delighted that we've got Dave from South Korea with us tonight. We've got Tony from Ontario. We've got Stan from South Carolina, as well as probably all four corners of the UK as well. So thank you all for turning out and giving me your time. Just in terms of the meeting protocols, all the microphones have currently been muted, apart from Andy, Dave, and myself. What we'll do, I'll paraphrase a number of the questions that have already been posed online, because obviously a number of those sort of cross-reference and so on. So rather than keep repeating the same questions or different nuances of the same questions, I'll ask the questions that have been put online. If at any time anybody wants to ask any subsequent questions, if you can raise your hand using the reactions button on the bottom of the screen, then we'll come to you and you can ask any. We'll unmute you. You can ask the question you want of Andy or Dave, and we'll roll on from there. Just from the Supporters Trust point of view, just two quick things before we kick off. Obviously, our memberships run from July through to June, and the vast majority of our supporters tend to pay their £5 at the season ticket renewal night, which is normally the start of the season in August. Obviously, that didn't happen. And obviously, we haven't seen most of our fans for a whole host of reasons. So if for any reason you haven't managed to pay a membership so far and can spare us a fiver, we will be extremely grateful. Like everybody else, we're working in strange times. Our fundraising has been severely hampered. We're certainly solvent, which is the main thing, but if anybody can renew the membership, we'll be grateful. And the other thing that may have passed some people by is we started a new draw in June, July of last year called Club 1968. Obviously, 1968 is a date that resonates with a great number of Stanley fans for all the right reasons. And this basically is the draw. It's a local draw for local people with local winners, effectively. It's £10 a month paid on standing order. So far, we've paid out over £12,000 in prizes since the middle of last summer. Every month we draw for £1,500, the top prize being £1,000, and with six prizes a month going out. Both the membership and the Club 1968 can be found on the website. And Mike has actually put the addresses on the chat button at the bottom of your screen. So if you want to get those addresses, you can find them on there, and you can do the transactions online. No trouble at all. So that's the end of the advertorial, and we'll move on to the Q&A bit. We'll get back to the meat. So obviously, on the back of the announcement that Andy put out a couple of weeks ago on the rebuilding of the Jack Barrett stand, or the back of it, and the facilities, obviously a number of questions coming around there. One from Tony Robinson and also from Susan Byrne, asking, when do you expect construction on the new site to be completed, Andy?
Well, it's about a 10-month project, and we expect to start in about 6 weeks. There's some pre-start conditions that we've got to do for Ironburg Borough Council, but when we've done that, we can commence. So we've got a 6-week start, maybe end of March, and then 10 months. So I think finished just after Christmas.
Okay.
That'll include the fitting out inside, depending on what we decide to do.
Yeah, and there's a subsequent question from Brian Tattersall asking, will any seating layout be lost during the improvements?
Seating layouts inside the ground?
Yeah.
No, everything's outside.
So all the seating exactly as it is at the moment. All the work is on the exterior side of the stand. So that clears that up. And
then we've got a building site behind you.
I think we're used to that, Andy. And we also had another couple of questions with regard to ground development from Mel Hallworth and also from Andy Buckle, saying, are there any plans to cover the Coppice End terracing?
Well, there are plans to finish the entire stadium and fairly soon. So I want to get on with it, and part of that does include covering Coppice. But in order, it's really get the home facilities right, so we can we've got somewhere to live, and then work his way through changing rooms and on. So
Yeah.
that's the plan. Get all the car parts re-tarmacked and finished, and but we are going to move on with it.
Would you envisage that sort of moving the Clayton end when it's finished? Is that the plan or something different?
I don't know yet. We've not drawn anything up. We're keeping his options open, and one of the reasons we're keeping his options open because if Coley manages to drag us up this year, we might want a different plan. We it's a substantial investment into this home stand. It's about 13,500 square foot, and it's all air conditioned and heated and ventilated properly and to latest building regs and what have you.
Yeah.
So it's a substantial investment to get these areas up to scratch, and when they're done, they'll be done for good.
Yeah.
And we really need. We don't know when fans are coming back. We don't know what the state of club will be in 12 months. So kind of playing it by ear.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Next question for David from Mark Swarbrick. Any thoughts on approaching former localish ex-players to act as club ambassadors at games and events?
Yeah, well, as we develop, especially with the new hospitality and new bars, we're open to all options. To be honest, it's a matter at the moment getting the place ship shape and ready to go. And as we develop that part of it, certainly great opportunities. I think we've done it a couple of times before. We did it with Paul Beck, and I think we've done it with one or two others through Darren Woodhead. So yeah, it works. But it's actually just getting them into the right place to begin with. And with all due respect to the sports bar, which has been fantastic for the club over the years, as it gets a little bit older and a little bit tired to the point where we're now replacing it. It's been hard to do that type of thing, but certainly moving forward, there's all sorts of options and opportunities.
Okay, we've got a question from John Freeman, Peter.
Yeah.
Can you just unmute John so he can ask his question?
I would do if I can find him.
Up on my screen.
Well, I'll give you a question. The question from John is for Andy, and his question was, should we get promoted into the higher division, would you invest in new players appropriate to that division?
In same way as we invested in new players appropriate to this division. So we have the lowest budget in this division, and we'd have the lowest budget in the next division. My honest opinion is that we can't afford to go up there and go for gold and really strip the club bare. So we'd be cautious, kind of like Wickham have done. We'll go up and give it a great shot, and there's no to say that if we did get up, Coley couldn't keep us up. So I'd look forward to it, but we're lowest budget in this division, and would certainly be lowest budget in the next one if that happened.
Okay. Can I just ask if anybody's actually put a question online? Don't worry, we'll probably get to it. So let's just work our way down the list, and then we'll see what's left at the end. Next question, Andy, going back to the bar, there's one from Adrian Seaslake, I think it is. I've seen suggestions from Andy about calling the new bar Tin Pot. I think it's a fantastic idea. Do we think it's possible?
I don't see. We can call it what we want. It's our bar.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, if you guys objected to any suggestion, then we won't call it. But I quite like the Tin Pot bar.
Yeah,
Tin Pot.
I think it works.
Well, I just think what we need to do is it reminds the world that we're not upper south. We're not pretentious and trying to be something that we're not. And Accrington isn't up itself. It's a working class, great quality northern town, and I think we don't want to pretend we're anything different.
Sure. We've got another question on a similar vein from Lois, Stephen Lowe, who basically says, will there be live music in the new fans bar when it's constructed? And will there be an opportunity to have one last pint in the clubhouse before it's knocked down? Well,
you have 6 weeks to have a pint in clubhouse. That depends on our mate Boris.
Yeah.
So I can't say that'll happen or it won't happen. Or whether we could have a social distance pint at the club, maybe it stands just for a quiet say goodbye to it. But
yeah.
in the new bar, the big room which is this end at Bar. It all totally opened up. It's got capability of holding over 250 people. So we can have bands in it and effectively do what we want, and it'll be down to you guys how it's run.
Yeah, the more flexibility, the better, I suppose, isn't it, really, with new facilities? Got to be multi-purpose nowadays, haven't they, really?
Well, I think they'll generate. We're looking at how we rebuild the club after COVID, and I think it'll generate its opportunity to generate funds. And I hear from council and from Chamber of Commerce that all happily rent the rooms during the day. So I think it helps build the club back into community as we've been doing for the last few years, and I think there's a good chance of generating a bit of revenue.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Another question on the bar. We'll give this one to David. Just a quick one, and it's from Elaine Talbot. Can we have Prosecco prices reduced at Winners' Hour?
Wow. It's only about £10 a bottle now, isn't it?
I wouldn't know, David. I really wouldn't know.
Hey, listen, we'll look at everything we can do. Thing is with Elaine, if you reduce it with Elaine, you're still going through 10 bottles anyway, so that's all right.
There's a secondary question from Mick Shacks as well, saying, is there any provision for gravy in the new development?
For gravy?
Gravy.
Right. Well, yeah, there's always options for stuff like that. What we can't do there is we can't cook food. We can't cook chips and things like that. We can reheat because of the license that we've got for the food kiosks and everything. So yeah, there is an option for it. The thing is, when we get everybody back in, is to get everything up and running again. It's like starting again. We'll find our feet and find what the supporters want, and we'll start getting into stock what we need again. It builds and builds and builds. And
sure.
Actually, when we were on lockdown, we were finding stock that somebody once asked for in a supporters meeting 4 years ago. We bought one box of it, and there was 3/4 of the box left. So, we'll just start building up again and getting it right.
Yeah, no, I can imagine you'll have to be prudent for a while, won't you, really? Going back to sort of bigger subject, this one is from Keith Hagan, probably for Andy or David, you can take your pick. Do you think the club could exploit the Accrington Stanley name more? I'm a fan over here in Belfast, and when I wear my gear, everyone says the same thing, who are they, etc. I brought my brother-in-law who lives in Sydney a few tops, and he's commented on a number of people who have heard of the club in Australia too. Could this be tapped into more to broaden the appeal?
Go on, Andy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and to be honest, you look at the work that supporters club are doing in America. I've got people in Australia that contact us. And it's definitely growing. Is the international appeal of the club? So, certainly we can. We need to. We need to keep pushing it out there, and the more Burger Gate things we have, the better.
Sure. We also had a similar question from Phil Kennedy, who's actually our international ambassador for the Supporters Trust. Phil, as most of you will know, runs the Across the Pitch podcast and whatever. He's just finished recording with Matt Butcher about half an hour or so ago. He was hoping to join us tonight, but unfortunately, because it's only lunchtime across in Phoenix, he's still working, so he's out on business at the moment, so he's had to cry off. But he said, I think the brand Accrington Stanley has massive potential as an international brand, particularly in the United States, where we love the underdog story, which is probably true. Do you envisage a future when Accrington Stanley builds on its biggest little team reputation to become a name which is synonymous with the sport of football internationally? I genuinely believe the appeal of the brand Accrington Stanley has that sort of potential. So he's coming from similar place, isn't he, really?
It's like starting back, 3 or 4 years ago when the supporters club, when it changed chairman and it reformed, if you will, and that's built up locally now to the number of members that you've got, and the 50-50 draw and the work that you've done in and around the ground and in the community as well. That's the start of it. And it started going out then. Phil got involved. I bet Dave's on tonight from South Korea, I believe.
Yeah.
Evening, Dave. How are you, mate? So, is he about? Yeah. So, so by doing that, locally to begin with, and then moving it out, Brand Stanley can go as far as it can. You know, once you've got the branches out to Phil, and Phil's got other branches out elsewhere, it soon starts spreading.
I think at the last count, we actually had supporters trust members in 18 different countries. You know, which okay, it might only be 1 or 2 in some countries, but nonetheless, it's certainly starting to spread, and we, you know, hope we can get a good few more yet. To be honest, really.
Absolutely, yeah, good.
One, Andy or David again from Graham Braithwaite. I'm glad he managed to join us on the nice evening this time. Well done, Graham. Is there anything more that fans can do to support the club through the current disruption?
Well, from an operational point of view, it's quite minim. I'm shooting myself in the foot with Andy here. Actually, it's quite minimalistic. Though what we have to do on a day-to-day basis, it's getting the pitch ready. You know, we don't have to get anything ready for the supporters at the moment because we can't have any in the ground. So it's mainly just getting the pitch ready, you know, the changing rooms and things like that from one game to another. Albeit that you know we've had 3 home games in 7 days, so it does keep you busy. But you know, once upon a day there'd have been the painting and everything else to do. But you know, 25% of the ground's coming down in 6 weeks' time. So you know, it's a new start for us that way. But you know, again, in the future, there's no reason at all, as we've done in the past through the Supporters Trust, and you know, looking back on your screenshot behind you there, Peter, with the memorial garden, you know, we get people coming in and helping clean and tidy that and keep it on top. So yeah, there's always a place for supporters to get involved, and that's what we want them to do.
Absolutely, sure. We just had a couple of comments on the chat line. One from Michael's iPad. That's probably Mick Shacks, I guess, who said Prosecco's £7 a bottle in Tesco, and we can use his staff discount. So I'd make a mental note of that, David. It might come in useful. And the second comment's from Stan Tolkowski out in South Carolina, who says it's 2:45 p.m. out there, and he's still working with a big wink. So. Hopefully Stan's still doing his stuff, and Dave says it's 4:47 a.m. in Seoul, so that's 4:45 in the morning. And fair play to Dave, I can see him on screen. He's looking quite chipper for this time in the morning, really.
Yeah. So Stan's one of our newest members, isn't he?
Yeah. Stan's one of our newest members, absolutely, yes.
I spoke with Stan via email, and you know, listen, really enthusiastic guy, and wants to be part and parcel of the club, and that's the type of thing we want, isn't it?
Of course it is.
I'm going to top up.
First things first. Right, Andy. Next question's about finance. So you might want that top up.
I might need it.
David Walker asks, how and why are you investing in the One Stadium for the benefit of Stanley and the wider community when football is in such a state of crisis due to COVID-19? How are you able to undertake such work in times of uncertainty and economic decline?
Well, wherever Accrington Stanley finds itself in years and decades to come, it needs the basic facilities. So whatever happens with COVID, we will get over it one day. I'm not saying it's anytime soon. I'm really hopeful for this vaccine, sure. But we never had facilities, and I would have liked to have started before now. But now we can see hopefully a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I'm hoping to get this finished, and fans are all back by the time it's finished in, you know, without any restrictions. So we've got to kind of anticipate it. But if we're not back, we'll have a stand with nobody in it, and that's how it is. Yeah,
I suppose with fans not being around, it does make the construction bit a little bit easier in some respects, I suppose, isn't it?
I'd rather fans be around.
Oh, we'd all rather be there, don't you? Really?
It's we are taking a flyer, but we've got an option when we get the shell up. We don't have to fit it out if there's nobody allowed in, and so there's certain cut-offs.
Yeah.
Once it's built and all infrastructure's in, we're laughing really. We can crack on whenever we need to at fairly short notice. So
yeah.
It needs doing at some point, and I'm worried if we don't start now, it'll never get done.
And obviously, the longer you leave the porter cabins to the current infrastructure, the more problems it stores up, I suppose, isn't it, really?
Well, it ends up being like Forth Road Bridge. By the time we get this done, we'll have to go and start another.
Yeah.
We don't get it all up to standard fairly quick. You've got some deteriorating, and we're watching it right. Look at that picture behind you. It's fantastic, and we need to be at that standard all the way around.
Yeah, no, it certainly looks the part, doesn't it? Unlike the pictures of the screen room with the roof caving in, which we saw on social media the other day, which Wasn't great, but there we go. Next question, well, it's the same question really from Joe Daly, Alex Crook, John Bryan and Deborah Phillips. How is Stanley coping financially without crowds and therefore match day incomes? And should the EFL / Premier League do more to help lower league clubs?
Well, we have a low budget to start with, and we cut it this year. So we will make losses. There's no doubt about it. I think we lost about 70,000, 80,000 pounds last year, which was a result given the fact we missed a few months. This year, we're not going to lose hundreds and hundreds of thousands, but we might lose 100,000 or two in a year when we've had no fans.
Yeah.
Look, we've had some help from the Premier League this year. We've got 375,000. If this goes on into next season, somebody's going to have to help, or there'll only be us left. There's a lot of clubs on the edge now.
Sure. Yeah.
We it's my job to keep the club on an even keel, and that's what I intend to do. It might mean that we've got to have a really tight budget. If we got promoted, it'd make it easier.
Yeah.
Because we'd have a big increase in budget, and we could spend a bit less and save a bit over, and make sure we get through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the bit that's most important, really, is have a sustainable club for years to come in it, really, at the end of the day. Question from Andrew Dickinson, again, also on, I suppose, finance to an extent. If promotion was achieved, would you both think as a club, besides it being a remarkable achievement, are we prepared financially, or would a few more seasons in League One be more beneficial long term?
Well, I mean, it appeals to go up, without a shadow of a doubt. I'd love to go up. But if you'd have asked me at the beginning of the season, I'd love to not go down. Watching change quickly. I think we're doing really well. I don't put pressure on Coley any more than he puts on himself, because the three of them and the lads, they do a great job. But I would love to go up. I'd love to go up. It gives us a real chance of getting more work done right ground, and we might find it difficult up when you've got clubs with 80 or 90 million pound budgets against us with 3 or 4 million pound budget. But listen, there's no to say what I could do.
Yeah, absolutely. Question from Darren Roberts, similar vein really. What's the plan to safeguard the club in these very uncertain times that are changing day by day? Hope we can get back to enjoying things we have second to none in terms of welcome and involvement with the fans. Thanks, guys, which I think is to yourself and Dave. But
well, I mean, we're safeguarding the club by keeping it as tight as we can. I mean, what the temptation was to go out and overspend in the January window, because we're doing okay, really well. And whilst the temptation were there, and we could have done it, it would have been the wrong move. You're accelerating your overheads and your spend into an uncertain period. So it were the wrong thing to do. Our job is to keep costs as tightly as we can under control. We can't make a profit if there's no income.
Sure.
We'll keep it as tight as we can. We'll last as long as we can, and we're in a much better position than the majority of clubs in League One.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a lot more clubs with bigger budgets and a bigger payroll having harder times than we are at the moment, really, aren't they, to be honest?
Yeah, well, don't forget we came into it not losing much money.
Yeah.
So we came into it profitable, and so we weren't starting from a bad position when COVID hit.
Yeah. Question from Tony Robinson, just go on the chat. Do you have any idea when next season may start, and will there be temporary facilities for hospitality?
Yeah, I can probably pick that one up. I was in a meeting today, and they're looking at the last Saturday in July or the first Saturday in August for the league. Okay. If it's the first Saturday in August, the last Saturday in July will probably be the Carabao Cup then. So, because it's the Euros this summer. So what they're trying to do is get an early start, because as you can see now, between now and the end of this season, I don't think we have a spare Tuesday.
No.
So an early start. Will we have temporary hospitality? Sure, we'll be looking at what we can do at that time. It might be that we get a big tent in. It might be that we look at other options.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a building site for some months, as Andy mentioned earlier. So we'll look at we'll look at every option we can with it. You know, we've got hopefully in the summertime and through to September, we've got the fan zones. You know, there's no reason we can't put another marquee up, something like that. There's get a better use out of the Clayton End fan zone. You know, it's really well used now, but you know, just imagine just for a period of time when there's nowhere else, we could have it ram-jammed and you know, again, there's no reason
over that.
Yeah,
couple of cameras over that and just get at it.
Yeah,
it'd be like Painted Village when we finished.
Yeah. It'd be like Glastonbury.
Open golf, yeah. Another comment just come on the chat. Will the club look at local teams to maybe set up a youth Stanley team under sevens upwards and then look at local talent? I'm not quite sure how low down the academy goes.
Yeah, well, the academy goes right from under seven, and actually a good time to talk about the academy because we've got Duncan Fernhead, who was the head of coaching in now as academy manager since Paul Lodge retired. And he's brought another couple of young lads in as well, and they're really going places. The young goal-getters who aspire for the Stanley Category 3 Academy to be as good as any in the country. And we run teams already from under sevens right through to the under 16s, and then if you're lucky enough then to get a scholarship, you go through to under 18s. Sure. And if you're lucky enough then to get a pro contract, we've got the under 23s. You know, before the first team. So we've got a full array of kids coming through. And we're finding now that actually kids are coming to Stanley as the first club rather than being the fourth club when they've been to Manchester United, Liverpool, Burnley, Blackburn, Bolton and Preston. And eventually they end up at Stanley. They're now choosing Stanley, you know, above some of these other academies. So it bodes really well for the future.
I suppose in real terms, the chances of a youngster making the grade via the Stanley route has got to be far better than trying to make it through one of the big Premier teams. I know the big Premier League clubs have the facilities and have the brand and all the rest of it, but they also hoof up massive numbers in terms of academies as well, don't they?
Well, I suppose it wonders what you mean by making it. You know, we've got 3 kids from Chelsea who have made it in their terms.
Yeah.
And yet they're a million, you know, Chelsea got 40 odd kids out on loan.
Yeah.
You know, what's making it is making it into your own first team. For me, it is.
Yeah.
You know, if you play for Accrington Stanley's first team, you know, you've made it. If you signed on at Chelsea and you play for 7 or 8 different League 2, League 3, League 2, League 1 clubs, then you go back to Chelsea and you're still, you know, 8th choice keeper.
Yeah.
You know, you haven't made it in my mind. So yeah, coming to Accrington Stanley gives you certainly better odds of getting into the Football League. And with what John, Jimmy and John Doolan have done with the kids that they have brought through, you know, they've gone on to better things. You look at some of the kids we've had over the last few years, Dan Boylater, you know, Matty Crooks.
Yeah.
They've all gone on and
Marcus Pessinelli is another one, isn't he?
Caden, you know, all gone on Clicker. You know, you can go on and on. They've all gone on. I say that I wouldn't say Clicker's gone on to bigger and better things. It's only Luton. You know, some of the other lads have.
I mean, if I can just butt in, I mean, I have meetings regular now with Duncan. We have Zoom meetings. We had one last Friday, and we're talking about. I mean, Duncan's only young. He's only 30, around that age, and. You know, we're talking about what happens in the next 20 years. We're talking about shape at football club in 20 years. Yeah. We're talking about the prospects. We're talking about who he's bringing in. We've got new coaches started, and I'm really, really excited about what's going on in that academy. I think it's you know, we've had Ross and a few others out at the academy, but it's going to ramp up in the next 5 years. That's without a doubt.
Okay, next question from James Cheverton. Slight change of tact. Any progress regarding a training pitch for the first team, or are they still going to have long-term use of the Stanley Sports Hub pitch?
Well, we desperately need our own training facilities. We don't want to be using the Sports Hub if we can help it. It's great using the Sports Hub. We pay for use. We contribute quite a bit to the community trust, which is fantastic because anything that gets paid gets used for the community. It's like it's best of all worlds, and we tend to train when community hubs not being used during the day. It's not evenings and weekends when school's going on. So it means, you know, we're going to use sports hub in terms of not being able to find anywhere else. But we have a couple of sites. We've got King George's, and we still have that site in Baccarie Garden Centre that we can develop as and when we need it. But well, not when we need it, as and when it makes sense to do. But we do need it, and we need kids learning from 7-year-old all the way up with the first team. They need to see that progression, and they need to see others progress right through to the top level.
The first team, yeah. Quick message on the chat line from Deborah. What's the situation with season tickets, please, this season and next season? Probably one for David, that is it.
Well, the next season, I'll be honest with you, until we know when fans are going to be coming back in, it's pointless. Going back to the beginning of this current season, we weren't going to release any season tickets until, we got told by the government that on the 20th, I'll never forget it, the 26th of September, we were going to be allowed 1,000 fans in. So, we hurriedly got the season tickets together and got them out at the early bird prices. And if you remember, we'd queues right around the car parks to that week. And we got to the Tuesday, and then the government pulled it. Yeah. And we never got the 1,000 in that we sold. So, for this season, and then we reimbursed 50% of it, and a few took it. Quite a lot didn't, and donated it back to the club, which was fantastic. Again, that's Accrington for you and the Accrington fans. Absolutely. Looking forward to next season. I'll be honest, we haven't really sat down and discussed it because we just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And one thing with it, Peter, just while we've got everybody on, is with the changes to the hospitality and the supporters bar, we will have to make one or two changes in and around one or two blocks. To accommodate the hospitality at one end and make sure we get everybody back in. But what we will ensure is if you can't sit where you were once sat, we'll try and find you somewhere as close as we can that suits you. Yeah. We opened up the Winnie Hill the other season when we were straightening up the blocks towards the bottom, towards the Clayton end. And to be fair, when people moved over there, they wanted to stay over there. And we've had to move them a couple of times when, we've had big crowds, and when we had Bolton in and when we had Sunderland in, and everyone's been fantastic. And we move across for the odd game. Yeah, so it's really good that way. But looking forward, we really need to know, where we're heading fans wise. Really, what we don't want to do is take money off people. Yeah. And not be able to supply a product for them. Yeah. Yeah. No, we've got a hand up from Billy. Billy from Buxton, and I think it is. Billy, can you hear us?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
All right, mate. Who's the best striker you signed in the last 10 years?
Well, I can only talk about 5 that I've been there.
We can't quite see you, Billy. Just point the iPad at your face, mate.
Hey!
There he is, look.
Billy from Buxton.
Don't think this is the setup, whatever you do.
I was going to say Caden Jackson till I saw him.
How are you doing, Billy?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
You want your hair cutted?
Oh, mate, you seen it?
I think we all do.
I speak
for keep calling you Will Farrell, whatever he is, from Step Brothers.
Anyway, I'm saying it's Billy Key. So am I now.
Get there, right?
Look, Billy and Caden were Billy won Golden Boot, so they were, I have a medal thanks to them to Caden diving and getting penalties, and Billy holding ball up and falling over, and getting the goals and scoring penalties. They were fantastic for a club. Billy's been there twice and done many years. When I, in my time at the club, I spoke to Billy a lot. We were always at it on WhatsApp, and he knows. I probably put a bit too much pressure on him when we were getting towards winning title when we'd gone up. I wanted to make sure we won the championship, and I probably pestered him a bit too much, but he delivered it with rest of lads, and it were, stay with him for the rest of my life.
Yeah, great year. They were. But then you see his team this year, because I'm an Aki fan and I watch it week in, week out. Got some team this year, though. Quite exciting to watch.
Out can happen, can't it? Well, we're saying this one then. Out can happen. We're saying out can happen. And,
well, if you look at the last few years, the teams that's gone up and all that, and you think that they've been behind us or we've been biting on their toes, like Luton and Coventry.
Yeah, well, when you see Billy, Luton, Coventry and Wickham, who came up with us, have all gone up another one.
Yeah, but
I think one thing we have done, mate, is we've built. There's some big lads in that team now, isn't there?
Oh, it's scary. You know what? It's scary now. Me and my dad watch it week in, week out. Obviously, I'm not playing and I'm working out. And on Saturday, we look forward to watching it. And the best thing is, it's exciting to watch. I think you've come on leaps and bounds since I've left. And in a way, me and my dad said it might have done a favour me actually leaving in the end, because you built an absolute diamond team. And they're looking real, all of them.
Well, people have funny, Billy, since you went, nobody's had any close cuts up at changing rooms.
Don't worry, I'll get in there at some stage in the next 10 years.
What you did, Billy, for Aki is, it's up there with anybody. Fantastic. I mean, I think these two we've got now, Colby and Dion. Dion's pace and Colby's holding up at ball. I think they're heading towards Billy and Caden class.
Well, I watched Colby a year ago, and he was trying his hardest, and he was on a run of fame. Actually, he scored a few goals against Ipswich and stuff. And to watch him this year against Charlton, I thought, that's some player within a year's time. And you talk to all the, I'm in the non-league now with Colby and that. And you talk to all the lads, they always ask how's Colby doing. He's so fought after, and I love lad. Everybody loves him. It's unreal. And with Dion as well, he's just on fire at the minute, isn't he? He's doing it. And now he's signed Paul back. And I think Paul needs to be back at Aki, to be fair to him. He'll love it there, and he'll think, and I think he'll do your team well. But them two, it reminds me a little bit. You've got one lad who wants to get his head beaten, but he's getting his rewards as well. And the other lad's getting off the thing, and it's just nice to see where the year when he's struggling to get that with them two, though. It's to John and Jimmy again, isn't it? It's what they do.
Look at one or two of the others, Billy. We're Pritch there when you in your last season.
No, I know. I missed. Pritchard was the season I retired, obviously.
Yeah.
But Pritch he reminds me of like a young Sean McConville sort of character. He's probably a little bit quicker than Sean as he is now and stuff. But then Sean slotted into that holding midfielder sort of role and picking up second balls. But Pritch is in between a Sean and Jordan. It's weird.
But he is. But he's come on this season leaps and bounds. He's got in and out of the team, and now he's got in and got his spot, and he's come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah, but you say that, but look at your back three. That's scary, that is, mate. To see for Accrington to have three lads like that, then you got your midfielders as well, and you think this club's coming. If you say I was there for 4, so it's 5 years now. Probably Andy's been in there 4 years. How far it's come is it's unbelievable. And I was listening to that Raw Milk podcast earlier, and they said pound for pound the best club. I'd have to say yeah.
Well, you're a big part of it, fella.
Absolutely.
It reminds me. It does. This team and this squad reminds me of the squad that won League Two. The cracks there. The people are fighting for each other. The
special.
Last year it wasn't like that at all.
Well, it's funny because I still talk to Sean, of course. You know what I mean, and whoever the lads who are there, and Sean said it's top notch this year, Bill. You'd love it. He said if you come back now, you'd love it. Like, you know what I mean, you'd fit right. It'd be awesome. But he said it's top notch, and for Sean to say, we know Sean. That's what he lives for, and he loves that. You know what I mean, but it's the way I see Seamus Keneally change and Mark Hughes as well, and the players they are now, like Seamus, you can hear him all game. He don't stop. It does my fucking head in still. Sorry, my language. You know what I mean, you just hear him shouting. You think, is he not going to For me, obviously, he got too much for me, but he's like 30. Well, I'm thinking he's madder than he was when he was 27.
He's playing fantastic. He's and he's an absolute top bloke. He's playing out of his skin. He's playing his best stuff.
I know it's scary, but how far you've come. Since Andy's been in, and obviously John and Jimmy have been there for years, but it's scary because I was there when it started with SOS as well. Saved by Stanley, and when we're struggling, see how far it's come over the years. It's amazing.
Changing rooms are still crap though, Billy. We get Hull on.
Got to keep them. Got to.
They're listed building.
You got to get rid of them. But bet you right now, this time of year when in there, you just freeze.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's got us in a bit of trouble anyway.
It's great to see you looking so well, mate. You've got loads of messages on our chat here saying you're looking well. Quality surprise, made by Dave. Best thing on Zoom in months, etc., etc. So as we said when we last saw you last February, you always have a place in the hearts of Stanley fans, and it's great you've taken the time to come on and have a little chat with us tonight, mate. We do appreciate it.
Love talking to you anytime, mate. Love the fans. Great club, great people. It always has been. So it's the only team I support, actually. So it's weird. You know what I mean?
As long as you're well and the family's safe and you're enjoying life, that's the main thing, mate. It really is.
Oh, cheers, mate. Cheers, Peter. Anyway, I'm going to go anywhere and leave you lot to it.
Listen, keep smiling. I'm glad to see you smiling. Keep smiling.
Worry, mate. Hey, been off for 2 weeks, done nothing but eat.
Well, you're always good at that, Billy.
Then I've gone off the beer. I had to get on the cider for a bit as well.
You used to be good at drinking and all when I used to go out here as after a win and with no game for a week.
Oh, lovely. Well, hopefully when this is all over, mate, I'll be up there. No, I mean, you're at Lincoln Saturday. I looked at it. I thought, wouldn't it be nice to just go and watch? It's just down the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with what's going on now, it's still enjoyable watching you all online and that. You know what I mean? But can't wait for you to get a good away day or come up there for the weekend and have a good crap with you all. If I'm honest, mate.
Well, we'll make a date. We'll get an away day and we'll go in away and with fans.
Oh, I'll have a right good.
That's a deal. That's a deal.
So, all right, then. I love you. I'll leave you all here.
Thanks, Billy. Look after yourself.
Right, buddy. See you in a bit. Bye.
Cheers, Bill. I hope you didn't mind Andy was doing that. We just thought it would be a nice surprise, to be honest, really.
Oh, brilliant.
On that, right, just moving back to the questions that people have posted online. Craig Clark asks, Andy, I've read somewhere you'll be involved with the club until you're 60. What are your plans after this for both yourself and the club?
Well, believe it or not, I'm talking about succession now with advisors and legal team and making sure that, there can be an exit for me at some point, and that might be in 20 years. But, to get to a point where club's running and there's people, good people operating it is where I want to be. I'm not just going to sell the club and disappear. I'm not going to do anything that threatens the club. So even if there were a transition, it'd be a long one. We might bring people in and say, look, you're here for 2 or 3 years. Let's see how you go. If it works with fans and everybody, we might then let you take a bit more control. But I'm not going to ruin what we've created for nobody.
No, absolutely. I think we'd all subscribe to that, and it'd be a massive shame if it was allowed to go the other way. And I don't for a minute think it will, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't need the money, and I won't. Even if I did, I wouldn't take it if it damaged what we've done. We've worked too hard to get it to where it is. But I do want to spend some time with my grandkids.
Of course you do.
It's getting right on my wick.
David, one for you. You can put your neck on the line here. Mark Harrison asks, given the great season we're having, do you think we'll be playing Blackburn Rovers next season?
Wow. Well, with 2 chances, if they come down and we don't go up, yes. If we go up and they stay where they are, yes. If we go up and they go up, which happened when we won League Two, the answer is no. But it'd be fantastic. Listen, if we could get into League One, albeit for 1 season, 2 seasons, 5 seasons,
Championship,
League One
into the Championship and play Blackburn Rovers, Preston North End.
Yeah, put that bottle down, you.
It'd be fantastic. Burnley. Listen, I'm a Rovers fan at heart, and when we won League Two, I was absolutely gutted for the first time in my life that Blackburn Rovers got a promotion, because I'd love to have had a season with them going to Ewood and then coming to the WAM. But you never know.
They're avoiding. They're deliberately avoiding us.
Like most teams.
Well, it's all right, you pinning your allegiance to Blackburn Rovers. As some of you know, I'm a Boltonian and was a Bolton Wanderers fan born and bred. And look how that turned out last season.
Yeah, well, listen, you had your moments. You had your moments at the WAM and didn't take it, so...
I know, we're 1-0 up. There we go. Right, next question from Andrew Trotter and also Tony Robinson. Do you think fans will be back in this season? And assuming they are, with their numbers will be restricted, how will the club balance the financial benefit of hosting clubs with big away followings with the long-term need to grow home support?
Well, I'll pick the first bit up, then Andy can take it over. From the meetings today that I've had with League One, I've been very, very, very surprised if we see fans back in this season. As for next season and beyond that, again, me and Andy have chatted about that, and we've talked about. I think it's going to be a while before you get your full complement back. And Andy, what do you think? Yeah.
Well, it's pure Accrington to be having our best season and not have our best crowd there to see it. I follow as a substitute, a poor substitute, but going forward, I do think we'll get crowds back, and we might have to space out a bit, and it might just be home crowds. But I do think there's a good chance we'll get crowd back next season, and that's what we're working towards. But I'd rather do that than rush it this season and end up locked down again and no crowd for the next 12 months. Yeah. So I think a bit of patience, and I'll be honest, if a lot of us crowd come back safely and they've not had COVID and complications from COVID, we've been through the wars and we're up and running. So I think we've just got to be patient and see what happens and manage it by, play it by ear.
Just as a caveat to that, Peter, obviously I see the players every day, and we talk to the new players, and when you look at the new players we've got a lot of them this season, and we tell them what they're missing. It's not just what the fans are missing. It's what the players are missing. They're missing, the Accrington Stanley fans. Yeah. And they're a unique set of people, are the fans, and I do feel for the players in a way, because they're performing like they're performing and winning games that we're winning, and I feel really sorry for some of these players who, especially the lone players in a way, because they might never get to see the Accrington Stanley faithful, and we try and tell them, what it would be like, but it's not. Until we get the fans back in, they'll not know that. So it works both ways, really. That as much as the fans are missing the players and the games, the players are missing the fans too.
Yeah. I think March the 7th, 2020 is a date that's indelibly etched on the minds of most supporters, because that's obviously the last time we were to a game for the lost to Tranmere, and it crossed my mind, as you say, a number of players could easily come and go this season, and we don't get to see him play live, which would be a crying shame, as you rightly point out, really, David.
Yeah, criminal.
Another question from Jeff Hounsley on a similar vein. I'm hopeful that the team has a great chance of promotion this season. If so, will the WAM Stadium have to become an all-seater stadium? And by the way, well done to everyone in the club for keeping us all entertained in difficult times.
No, is the
Go on, Andy.
Go on, Dave. You're into all that.
It doesn't have to become seated overnight. If we had a period of time in there, we get this. I think you get dispensation for 3 seasons, and then from then on, you'd have to start looking at it. But listen, we've had dispensation for the changing rooms that we've got. Yeah. 5 years that I've been here, so no, it wouldn't have to become all seater. In fact, the way it is going, there's more standing areas.
Yeah, it's going the other way. Yeah,
it's going the other way a little bit. So. No, you get grace for a period, and if you're in there for 3 seasons, well, we'll probably put a roof on it as well and play every week.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, another comment from Colin Cadell. I love the initiative of free shirts for school kids. Do we have further plans to make sure we lock in the next generation of fan? Always difficult with kids being able to choose from many local clubs or the numerous ones on TV.
Well, in what the strategy has been from when we started, there's a short-term, medium-term, and long-term strategy. And one of the things we're getting kids to identify with Accrington Stanley and getting a badge on the shirt is one of the key steps. Yeah. We've done it every year. so far, and in my time there, it won't stop. Kids are getting Adidas shirts, first class Adidas shirts, not cast offs or anything like that I got. And parents can't be affording 30 or 40 quid for a kid's shirt that they're going to grow out of. So it kind of ticks a lot of boxes with me. It gets Accrington out there, and it also helps a lot of families that wouldn't otherwise get shirts for their kids. So it's kind of fun.
It's very noticeable at the time that we give away the shirts. We're getting an influx of parents into the shop having to buy another shirt for the other sibling that didn't get one. You know, it's
listen, I've had people,
quite noticeable.
Listen, Peter, I've had people come up to me on ground, you know, and I love it on ground with fans. I don't go with directors. I always walk around talking to everybody and having a pint and messing about. I only wanted to have a pint with my lad. That's why I got involved in Accrington. And people come up to me and they say, that shirt you bought me cost me 200 quid. You bought my daughter, cost me 200 quid. I've had to come ever since. Yeah. And quite often they follow it up by saying, and it's the best thing I ever did. Yeah. You know, so it does work. We're interacting with community. We have a lot more work to do, and that's the long-term strategy. You know, hopefully in 10 years that'll start to pay off. There's no immediate payback, but it's a 10 year. You've got short term. You've got your winners hour, your pound a pint, you know, the bonds on and everything, and then you've got your medium term working with other areas at community.
Yeah, it was ironic.
Sorry, Peter. The community trust have a big part to play in that as well, because they're out in every school as well. Yeah. You know, and they're banging the drum for Stanley, and it's noticeable. You go into town, you know, you see the kids playing out nowadays. They go into the schools and see the kids in PE, and there's more Stanley shirts than Blackburn, Burnley, and Man United, Liverpool shirts now. So yeah, it's ongoing.
Yeah, I think it was ironic that literally about 2 weeks before the lockdown, we actually had our first primary school round. We actually did a ground tour around the Wham Stadium. We invited a number of primary schools, and one took it up, and they brought down, I think it was 20 or 30 kids. Robert Houseman, our supporters liaison guy, showed them around, get his next school teacher, gave them all the spiel about the history of Stanley. We took them around the timeline behind the Clayton end there. They stood on the thing, they played with the drum, etc., etc. And that was something we will build on when we're able to, because it was entirely the right thing to do. The teacher then set them all a project, and I've still got an envelope with about 30 projects in that they've sent through of what the children have done on their Accrington Stanley, which just does to help reinforce the work that Andy's been doing with the shirts. To be honest, it's just the next logical step, and we'll do more of it.
If you don't mind me just putting in there, Pete, it did start off at a cost for Accrington of about £25,000 a year, but it's such a good initiative. It's probably the best initiative that we do, that people want to sponsor it down. So the cost has come down for the club.
Yeah.
Around £10,000 a year now to give 1,200 shirts out. It's a win-win scenario. I don't know why every club doesn't do it.
Do you get any dispensation from Adidas for the shirts?
They give us 10% off on that batch that we buy for that particular.
Better than a pork in the eye, I suppose, isn't it?
Well, you know, it adds up. It all adds up. Sponsorship from like the studio and Guide and Pagan and Wallington, places like that. It really does add up.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll cost club next to note to do it.
Just a couple online on the back of that. James Cheverton says it's great around town now seeing all the children in Accrington shirts. Stuart Rogan, the shirt giveaway is the best forward-thinking initiative I've ever seen. A credit to the football club in the town. Keel certainly wasn't fashionable growing up as a child around my age as a Stanley fan. Could count on one hand in the school who'd go to the games to support Stanley. Mark Harrison, now living in Scotland, but getting to the Wham as often as I can. Any chance of a pre-season friendly against any Scottish clubs? No doubt Rangers, Andy.
I'd love that. We'd beat it. Listen, the last international team we played in a friendly, we whacked them over at Salford City Red Stadium. So I'd go up to Ibrox in a shot.
We'll bear that one in mind. Right, moving on.
Security guard with me.
Moving on to the next question, that was a piece submitted from Gary Hayes. a bit of a controversial one. This one, either one can take it. Why is the pitch in such poor condition? Only lasted one season.
Well,
I don't know how you can say that.
Yeah, it's our
second. What are you on about?
It's our second full season, isn't it? Since we did it. When you're saying poor condition, you've got to remember that we finished the season in March. We didn't know when the season was going to start again. It was going to start in April, and then it was going to start in May, then it was going to start in June. So we had absolutely minimum remedial work done on the pitch.
Yeah.
And then we were up and running again in August. So it's literally done 2 full seasons without any work on it. So
it's not much less, does it?
And you look at most clubs in League One and League Two, and some in the Championship. And their pitches, because they've done exactly the same. They haven't had any chance to do any upgrades on them. So, hey, we could be Peterborough.
Oh, I know.
On that pitch, we are spared trying to get rid of water, and where it's winter. It's been covered. It's covered with a sheet often now, when that doesn't help. But it's still there. It's still playable.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, Peter, sorry for interrupting again. When we played at Bristol Rovers, and Coley would say this, but he said it was the best the pitch had played all season. It was flat. It was zipping around. There was a bit of rain on it. It is flat. It just looks untidy. It looks more untidy.
Yeah, but that's just where, isn't it?
Playable. It's flat. Even the other night, if you look at the game the other night with Plymouth, there was a lot of football played.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, absolutely. Just a comment from Alex Crook, Andy, going back on the Rangers bit. The club did have links with Stevie Gerrard, which I'm fairly sure they did at one time by Ian Dunbabin, I think it was, wasn't it?
I don't know.
No, okay. Before your time, I think.
Did Steve Gerrard's brother not play a couple of games?
Oh, his cousin Anthony. Anthony Gerrard, we had him on loan from somewhere. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
A message from DC. I can't think who DC is. I have a lot to thank Stanley for. My dad became very ill and wouldn't leave the house for 12 months. Thanks to Dave, we got him on Stanley and made my dad, granddad, husband, again, absolutely amazing. So that's a thank you from DC. Michael's iPad says, note wrong with the pitch. Megan and Josh says, must be the I follow cam, it looks like a carpet, fair play to Buzzer. And as Alex Crook said, Buzzer, unsung hero. So I think the general consensus is there's no wrong with the pitch. It's certainly draining well.
Just going back to pitch, it is set up now. The drainage, it is set up right as a pitch. And the difference between our pitch and a Premier League pitch is Premier League pitch has plastic stitched into it.
Yeah.
So it's 30% plastic. So in winter, when grass is bare, the 30% of plastic, you see more.
Yeah.
And we could stitch that in. It's about another 300 grand if we wanted to stitch that in. We'd have. So you lose 30% in winter. You end up with 30% plastic and 30% grass. So it'd still be not as good, but.
And the Premier League teams aren't training on it twice a week, aren't they?
Well, yeah, they're running around with lamps, all week long, shining lamps,
Well, they've all got their underground heating and everything. Over the last 3 weeks since Christmas, we've had the covers. Well, last season we didn't have the covers on at all. Last season,
we didn't have any, did we?
We got through the winter.
We bought them the winter.
Bought them the winter before and used them, and then last winter we didn't have them on once, and then this season, they've been on and off, and we've got games on, and you look round us, even this week, you look round us, and there was 8 games off, of which 3 or 4 were round us, so
they were.
We're doing all right.
Yeah. Moving back to the questions, Eric Higgins, have any plans been put in place if we were to get up this year? I think you've probably answered some of that, haven't you?
Well, there'll be things that we'd no doubt have to do if we were to go up. There'll be areas at ground that aren't up to standard that will need to be done.
Yeah.
It's such a finely balanced situation. You don't know if you're going to go up, so it's difficult to plan what you're going to do. Yeah. But let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Another question which has come from one of our North American supporter members, Harry Austin, says, what would it take for Accrington Stanley to make a North American trip in non-COVID times?
I'd love it.
Yeah, obviously the club across there are the Phoenix Rising, which is Phil Kennedy's crowd. And I know we had plans and we've done comparisons between Phoenix Rising and Stanley with Bumble and various other people talking about players and all the rest of it. So it would be great, but it's just it's logistics, isn't it, Andy?
Well, we'd have to book a plane for us and a plane for fans that wanted to go over. It would be an epic trip. There's no doubt about it, and I'd love it. The only downside to it is they don't do decent beer in America.
Yeah, and the other side, it's not about 100 degrees most of the year in Phoenix.
Listen, it's about -10 where I am.
Oh yeah, I think most of us would, to be honest. Right, slightly different angle. John Freeman asks, and I think we might have done this, if and when we do get into...
We've done this, Peter.
Yeah, with the money invested. Ken Clark asks, if we gain promotion to the Championship, do you envisage having to make changes to the ground and all the management and team structures? Again, I think we've probably touched on most of that. John Earnshaw asks, what contingencies of the club put in place to reach the Championship? Will the capacity of the WAN need to be increased, and how would it be achieved if needed? So,
I mean, we have the Coppice End could be significantly increased and improved and built, and we can build capacity up fairly quick. But you want to be sure that your crowd were over 5,300 to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you might do a year or two at 5,300 and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what we could do is go up, build our overhead base up so high that if we came back down, we'd go bust.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's chicken and egg, isn't it, really, unfortunately, on that one. Question from Daniel Holding and also Paul Schofield. Paul says, where would you like to see Accrington in 2 years from now? And Daniel said 10 years. So I suppose you can pick either or both of them, really.
Well, kind of for me, and this sounds, I don't want this to sound wrong. I just want us to be a great, proud little club.
Yeah.
I know in the next 10 years we might get promoted, we might get relegated, you know, we might have great runs, we might, and that's all part of football's journey. But if we can have a great club that is such a fantastic Saturday out, you know, we had a great time in League Two. Before my time, everybody seemed to have a great time in non-league. If we have a great club that we're all proud of and that we're all working to, that'll do me for the next 2 and 10 years, wherever we are.
I think we'd all subscribe to that, Andy, to be honest. David, you might want to take this one. Michael Dixon. Whether returning to the old 3rd Division North and South system, would it make good business and football sense?
Well, from a personal point of view, I love it as it is. And I've spoken to quite a few spectators about this. Listen, it's great to travel down to Plymouth. It's great to travel down into London and get a good away day. I like it as it is. You know, the old 3rd Division North and South came and went. I wouldn't like to see it regionalised. You know, I think football fans are football fans, and they'll travel the length and the breadth of the country to watch their football team. And a Saturday afternoon in London, or a Saturday afternoon up in Sunderland, or a Saturday afternoon in Carlisle, the great days out. You get on the train in the morning, you know, you get back late at night, you get a result, you know, and it's part and parcel of the weekend, you know. So for me, no, I wouldn't like to go back to North and South. I do like travelling.
Yeah, like playing in a national competition and playing nationally. Yeah,
absolutely.
Financially, David and Peter and everybody, I think it'd be a mistake. I think there's a focus on big cities for football. You know, London has a big concentration of big football clubs, and I think if we're not careful, smaller clubs at North will get left behind. So my attitude is North and South would be a mistake, potentially, and if we went down that path, it'd be hard to undo.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. David Lawrence, I think this is one is back to David, really. What plans are in place to expand Accrington Stanley kit and other items available on the club website? Could a click and collect offer be made available from the club shop at a specific date and time?
The answer is yes to that. We've now got the infrastructure in around the sales system. We've got a sales system in that can do online, that can do click and collect, and it was something that we were looking towards prior to lockdown. Really, we got the ticketing system in better now, and people were buying tickets online. We just started selling tickets online where people could buy them, and match day tickets, and we're getting people into the ground quicker, and all that type of thing. So we started stage one, if you will, and the lockdown just took that away from us. But as we've got to get better at it. There's lots of areas where we need to improve. And the online sales is certainly one of them. We ended up with quite a big variety of stock, of various, of training tops, and the kit's the kit. You're either going to buy a red one this season, a red one, a white one, or a black one. But we had quite a lot of stock of different stuff. But listen, it's an area that we do need to develop. We know that. There's quite a lot of weak areas that are better than they were. But they're still nowhere near where they need to be.
Mick Shacks has just put on saying, don't forget about his tin pot. He definitely wants one. His tin pot mug to go in the club shopping is a cracking idea, is that?
Yeah, it is.
There's a market waiting.
Going back to that the online and all that sort of stuff that David's on about, we're talking about allowing people to book cash onto the card, so that when they come in, if they put a tenner on the card, they just show the season ticket card, and it knocks a quid off in winners out when we beat somebody for a pint, and then it'll speed the bars up. It'll that's a lot of fun going forward.
Yeah, good. Next one is just a statement really from Stuart Rogan from HML, just to confirm the final year of the 3-year agreement for stand sponsorship, and confirm we want to commit to maintaining our current support for another 3 years, either for the stand or the opportunities, which is massively reassuring to have a big business like HML behind the club, isn't it, Andy?
It's unbelievable, really, how sponsors support. Well, how everybody's stuck behind us in this in this time, and I thank him. From bottom of my heart, everybody. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and a couple of comments online. HML, brilliant. Rounds of applause, and I think we'd all subscribe to that. What Stuart does for the club and the town is magnificent. And long may it continue.
Sorry for jumping in, Peter, but Stuart does a lot in the community.
I know.
He does a lot of work, and the fact that is part and parcel of Accrington Stanley, and he comes and he takes some hospitality. He does a lot of good stuff. Yeah, and for him to commit to that, it's really
massive. It's massive.
Yeah.
Just going back to the merchandising, Josh has just asked when can we get some life-size Seamus Keneally cutouts for him.
Listen, if Seamus carries on playing like this,
I'm beginning to worry about him, to be honest.
I'll tell you what, that Andy Holt statue that we were going to build, it might have to be a Seamus Keneally one.
It should be Seamus. Where he's playing, he's
playing well. He's playing well.
Megan might not get a look in if gets a life-size cutout to Seamus.
We did actually have a question from Seamus Keneally, but it was a very dubious email address saying, "When is my statue going up?" Which we think might have been Josh, to be honest.
I think that was Josh, not Seamus.
So do I. Stuart's just commented, great to be part of such a fantastic club. So I think we're all joined up on that now.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Stuart.
A couple of final questions, really. One from Jim Curtis, which I think is tongue-in-cheek, but he might need a hard hat when we go back. Will Block C still be allowed in the stadium when the new stand is built? I take it Jim doesn't sit in Block C. He might not want to go near it in the near future.
I think Jim sits in Block C, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. We'll make sure Jim gets back in Block C.
No,
after he's done his pre-match duties as a supporters liaison officer that he's trained up to do now. He's doing a great job for us.
Excellent. A question from Keith Laird, who's one of our fans who comes down from Carluke in Scotland with Max to most of the home games and some of the away games, which is absolutely tremendous. I suppose it's one for Andy, really. In the future, is fan ownership an option?
Well, we have fan ownership now, to a degree, and
yeah.
you know, we how we fund the club going forward is something we're talking about as part of the succession and developing the stadium. I'm all for it. I'm all for fan ownership. I'm all for bringing outside investors in, and I'm all for building the club up and giving it deeper roots. I think as a group, a bigger group of people involved, we've got much better chance of success going forward. So I'm all for it. What I don't want to do, and I don't want to be too critical about my predecessors. I don't want to sell a brick for £1,000.
No.
I just think it's, you know, I think it goes a bit too far. So I want to really engage with everybody, and I want to build the club up, bringing everybody into it.
Last question from me, really. David, you might want to take this one. Yesterday or today, yesterday, we fell foul of the FA rule E20 for failing to control our players versus Northampton, and we've got until tomorrow to respond. So what's our response?
So we've gone back to them today, actually. We feel a bit aggrieved with it. There was a bit of a melee, and Joe got sent off. Colby got booked.
Yeah. Their keeper ran 50 yards to get him off.
Sean McConville subsequently got his 4-match ban. Yeah. And when we've watched it over and over and over, and when you keep watching it over and over, there was more of them than us. The keeper ran the distance that he ran, like you said. And to be me and Andy were on about this today. Sometimes you get this like tin hat attitude that you think people are against you. You think referees are against you, assessors are against you. The FA are against you, the Football League are against you, and we're getting a bit of a complex over it. So.
Yeah. No, I can understand that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's the end.
On that point, though, it's pointless. It's needless bookings, needless bans. We have to start learning to control it. So I don't think the authorities are doing us any favours, but it's in his own hands not to put himself in that position, and that's what I've discussed with Corley.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a message from Graham Braithwaite on here, which says, "Thank you to Andy, Dave, and all the staff and supporters club. You do a fabulous job, and it's wonderful to be part of this community. I've been a supporter since 1991 and seen a lot happen, good and bad. We are definitely in the finest era in our history, not just on the pitch, but throughout the club." Which I think is fair comment. Graham's actually down in Northampton. I know he comes up to a number of games, and it's always great to see him. But obviously, it's just nice to get the sentiments. Really, Vincent echoes that and says, "Well said."
And it's appreciated.
He's curled.
Just last couple of comments, really, before we finish. In that case, Rob Walker, just a comment. His computer's disappeared. Says, "No question, but just a big thanks to Andy and Dave for all they've done," which I think we would all echo, to be honest, really, on that. Mark Harrison, if you send me an email, I'll put you in contact with the guys from Carluke. chair@onstanleyon.com will get to me. Just one final announcement. On the back of tonight, we're going to do on the 4th of March, a similar session with Corley and Jimmy Bell. So tonight's all been off the pitch, effectively. The next meeting will be very much on the field, so you can come and ask your questions of why we're playing X and not Y, why we're playing that formation, why is this happening, why is that happening. That will happen on Thursday, the 4th of March at 7:30. And providing that goes quite well, we're going to do something similar, probably to the back end of March with some of the playing squad as well. So I think from my point of view, can I thank everyone for the time, especially Andy and David for joining us and giving of your evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think everyone's got something out of it, which is important. And I'll leave the final comment with Bumble, who said, "No question, just a massive thanks for giving us a club to be proud of. #tin pot my arse," which I think just about sums it up.
Yeah. Listen, I feel for Bumble and all being locked in all these months after months.
He's not left the house since March, has he?
No, he hasn't, and it's awful for him, and it's awful for a lot of people that are 70 plus. Hopefully, he'll get his jabs and he'll fire himself out soon.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, guys. Well, thank you, and I think that's done.
Listen, just on behalf of me and Andy, thanks for everything that you guys do for us as well. You know, we're not a massive club. We are inside ourselves. We're not a massive club, but the help that we get in and around the stadium from the supporters trust, from the community trust, and from the supporters, you know, it just makes you want to do better and better. So from our side, thank you very much.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. We've a lot more to do, with more plans, as you know, David, for stuff on the fan zone and moving forward. So just need to get through the next few months, get fans back in the stadium, and then start building the fan base back up again.
We're on our way back. So
thanks everybody. Take care. Look after
Cheers, everyone,
and we'll see you all soon.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Ta-ra.